The fluorescent lights in St. Catherine's Hospital flicker at 2:47 a.m., casting shadows across the empty corridor where Marcus Webb pushes his cleaning cart. The wheels squeak softly against polished linoleum, a rhythm he has memorized over 3 years of night shifts. His hands move automatically, spray bottle, microfiber cloth, wipe down the nurse's station counter, move to the next surface. He is alone. This is when he prefers to work, when the hospital sleeps and no one watches him, with a mixture of pity and dismissal he has learned to ignore. At 36, Marcus has become expert at being invisible. The elevator chimes. Marcus does not look up. Late-night visitors occasionally wander through, lost or desperate or both. He continues wiping down the waiting area chairs, methodical and thorough. Footsteps approach, expensive shoes clicking against tile. Even without looking, Marcus can hear wealth in the confident stride, in the purposeful rhythm that says someone is accustomed to having paths clear before them. "Excuse me." The voice is female, sharp with urgency but trembling underneath. "I need help." Marcus straightens and turns. The woman standing before him is perhaps 55, dressed in a charcoal blazer and tailored pants that probably cost more than his monthly rent. Her blonde hair is pulled back severely, though strands have escaped around her face. Her makeup is smudged, mascara tracked down her cheeks. She is clutching her side, and her other hand grips the wall for support. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Marcus sets down his cleaning supplies. "Do you need me to call a nurse?" "No." She shakes her head, then winces at the movement. "No nurses. No doctors. Not yet. I need to sit down for a moment. Please." Marcus recognizes pain when he sees it. He has seen enough of it in this building, in the pediatric wing where his daughter Lily has her monthly cardiology appointments, in the oncology floor where his wife Sarah spent her final months. He guides the woman to a chair in the empty waiting area. She sinks into it with a gasp, pressing her hand harder against her ribs. Her breathing is shallow, controlled, like someone managing agony through sheer willpower. "I'm going to get help," Marcus says firmly. "Wait." Her hand shoots out and grabs his wrist. Her grip is surprisingly strong. "Please, just give me a minute. I can't. If they see me like this, if anyone knows." She trails off, eyes closing. Marcus can see her pulse hammering in her throat. Whatever is happening, it is serious. "Ma'am, you need medical attention." "I know." Her voice drops to almost a whisper. "I know, but not here. Not where they know me." Marcus understands then. This is Victoria Ashford. He has cleaned her office building downtown, Ashford Industries, though she has never noticed him there. He has seen her photograph in the business section of newspapers left behind in the break room. CEO, billionaire, the kind of person who appears on magazine covers with headlines about ruthless brilliance and market domination. And right now, she is terrified. "What happened?" Marcus asks gently. Victoria opens her eyes. They are gray-blue, sharp even through the pain. "I was working late. My office. I felt something, a pain in my side. Sharp, sudden. I thought it would pass, but it got worse." She swallows. "I drove myself here. I didn't want my driver to know. I didn't want anyone to know." "Why?" "Because I'm weak." The words come out bitter. "Because if the board finds out, if the investors know that I'm—" She stops, breathing through another wave of pain. "I can't be seen as weak. I can't afford to be human." Marcus studies her. He sees the expensive clothes, the careful makeup now ruined, the way she holds herself like armor, even while collapsing. He sees someone who has spent so long being powerful that vulnerability has become impossible. He also sees someone who might die in this chair rather than admit she needs help. "I'm going to tell you what I told my daughter when she was afraid before her first heart surgery," Marcus says quietly. "Being scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, and humans need help sometimes." Victoria stares at him. For a moment, the CEO mask slips, and Marcus sees something raw underneath. Loss, maybe, or loneliness so deep it has calcified into stone. "I don't know how to ask for help," she whispers. "You already did," Marcus replies. "You asked me." He stands and walks to the nurse's station. Victoria does not try to stop him this time. He picks up the phone and pages the emergency department, explaining calmly that there's a patient in the third-floor waiting area experiencing severe abdominal pain, possible internal injury, immediate assessment needed. When he returns, Victoria has her eyes closed again. Tears slip silently down her cheeks. "They're coming," Marcus says. He pulls another chair close and sits beside her. "You don't have to be alone. You don't even know me." "No, but I know what it's like to be scared in a hospital at 3 in the morning. And no one should face that alone." The medical team arrives within 2 minutes. They move with efficient urgency, asking questions, checking vitals, preparing a gurney. Victoria answers in fragments, her control fraying with each breath. Marcus steps back to give them room, preparing to return to his cart, to his work, to his invisibility. "Wait." Victoria's voice cuts through the controlled chaos. She is looking directly at him. "Please, will you stay?" The nurses exchange glances. One of them, an older woman Marcus recognizes from the night shift, raises an eyebrow. "Are you family?" Marcus opens his mouth to say no, to explain that he is just the janitor, that he has no right to be here. "Yes," Victoria says before he can speak. He's family. Please, I need him here." The nurse looks skeptical, but nods. "Then you can come with us. But stay out of the way." If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. They will Victoria through double doors into an examination room. Marcus follows, feeling distinctly out of place in his janitor's uniform among the medical professionals in their scrubs. He positions himself in the corner, hands clasped, trying to be present without being intrusive. Dr. Patel arrives, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who takes one look at Victoria and begins issuing orders. Blood work, imaging, for fluids, pain management. The room fills with purposeful motion. Victoria's hand reaches out blindly, searching. Marcus steps forward without thinking and takes it. Her fingers close around his like a vice. "What's your name?" she asks through gritted teeth. "Marcus. Marcus Webb. Marcus." She repeats it like a prayer. "Thank you for not leaving." Dr. Patel orders an ultrasound. The technician wheels in the machine, and Marcus starts to step back again to give Victoria privacy. But her grip tightens. "Stay," she says. Not a command, a plea. So he stays. He watches the screen, shows shadows and shapes he does not understand. He watches Dr. Patel's expression shift from concern to focused intensity. He watches Victoria's face turn gray with fear. "There's fluid accumulating in your abdomen," Dr. Patel says carefully, "and what appears to be a mass on your liver. We need a CT scan immediately to determine the extent." Victoria's hand goes limp in Marcus's. "A mass," she repeats. "You mean cancer?" We need more information before we can make any diagnosis. But yes, that is one possibility we need to investigate." The words hang in the sterile air. Cancer, the word that took Sarah. The word that turned Marcus's life inside out 3 years ago, that left him with a daughter to raise alone and debt that still follows him like a shadow. Victoria is staring at the ceiling, her face blank. Marcus recognizes that look too. Shock. The moment when the world tilts and everything you thought was solid reveals itself as paper thin. "Hey." Marcus squeezes her hand gently. "One step at a time. That's all you can do. One test, one result, one decision." Victoria turns her head to look at him. "You sound like you know. My wife. Pancreatic cancer. 3 years ago." Understanding floods Victoria's eyes. "I'm sorry. So am I. But she taught me something important. Fear is just your body preparing to fight. So let it prepare. Then fight." A tear escapes down Victoria's temple. "I don't know if I know how to fight like that. I've spent my whole life fighting for companies, for market share, for dominance. But this," her voice breaks. "This is different." "Yes," Marcus agrees. "This requires a different kind of strength. The kind that asks for help. The kind that admits you're scared." They wheel her away for the CT scan. Marcus waits in the hallway, suddenly exhausted. His shift ended an hour ago, but he cannot bring himself to leave. Something about Victoria Ashford, powerful and terrified, has cracked something open in his chest. His phone buzzes. A text from his neighbor, Mrs. Chun, who watches Lily when Marcus works nights. Everything okay? You're usually home by now. Marcus types back quickly. Emergency at work. Be home soon. Thank you for staying. Mrs. Chun responds with a thumbs up emoji. Marcus leans against the wall and closes his eyes. He thinks about Lily, 7 years old now, asleep in their small apartment in Queens. She has school in 5 hours. He needs to be there to make her breakfast, to braid her hair badly, but with love, to walk her to the bus stop. But he also thinks about Victoria's hand gripping his, about the raw fear in her eyes, about how she said please like someone who had forgotten how to ask for anything. The doors open. They will Victoria back, her face pale and 4-line now running in her arm. Dr. Patel follows, her expression grim. Marcus straightens, alert. The CT shows a significant mass on your liver. Dr. Patel says without preamble, approximately 8 centimeters. There's also evidence of internal bleeding, which is causing the fluid accumulation and the pain you're experiencing. Victoria does not move. How bad? We need a biopsy to determine if it's malignant. But given the size and the bleeding, surgery will likely be necessary regardless. I've called in Dr. Kim, our chief surgical oncologist. He should be here within the hour. And if I don't have surgery, Dr. Patel meets her eyes. The bleeding will continue. You could go into shock. Without intervention, this becomes life-threatening within days, possibly hours. Victoria nods slowly. Okay, then we do the surgery. We'll need to contact your family, your emergency contact. There's no one, Victoria interrupts. No family. No emergency contact. The room goes quiet. Marcus sees the nurses exchange glances, uncertain. There must be someone, Dr. Patel says gently. A friend? A colleague? Victoria's laugh is hollow. I have employees. I have business associates. I have people who smile at me because I sign their paychecks. But friends? She shakes her head. I traded those for quarterly earnings reports a long time ago. The silence that follows is suffocating. Marcus clears his throat. She has me. Everyone turns to look at him. Victoria most of all. I know I'm just. Marcus stops himself. He is tired of apologizing for what he is, for what he does. I can stay. If you want someone here, I can stay. Victoria's eyes fill with tears. You don't have to do that. You've already done so much. I know I don't have to. I'm offering because I want to. Dr. Patel looks between them, clearly trying to understand this unusual dynamic. Finally, she nods. All right, Mr. Webb, you can remain as her support person. We'll prep her for surgery. Dr. Kim will want to speak with both of you when he arrives. The medical team disperses, leaving Marcus and Victoria alone except for a single nurse monitoring the four. Why are you doing this? Victoria asks. You don't know me. I'm nothing to you. Marcus thinks about how to answer. He could tell her about Sarah, about how strangers became lifelines during those terrible months. He could tell her about the nurse who stayed late to sit with him when Sarah took her last breath. He could tell her about the orderly who found him crying in a stairwell and simply sat beside him without saying a word. Instead, he tells her the simple truth. Because everyone deserves someone in their corner when they're scared. And you're scared. Victoria closes her eyes. Fresh tears slip free. I've been terrible, she whispers. My whole life. I've been ruthless and cold, and I've hurt people without thinking twice. I've built an empire by being willing to do things others won't. And now I'm dying, and I'm alone, and maybe that's exactly what I deserve. Hey, Marcus moves closer, his voice firm. That's fear talking, not truth. How do you know? Because you asked a stranger for help. Because you're crying. Because terrible people don't usually question whether they're terrible. He pauses. You might have done terrible things, but that doesn't mean you can't do better. Starting now. Victoria opens her eyes and looks at him fully. Really looks like she is seeing him for the first time. Who are you, Marcus Webb? I'm a janitor with a daughter to raise and a dead wife I still talk to sometimes. I'm nobody special, but I know what it's like to face the worst thing you can imagine. And I know you don't have to face it alone. The doors open again. Dr. Kim enters, a tall man in his 60s with steady hands and kind eyes. He reviews the scans, explains the surgery in technical terms that Marcus only half understands. Hepatic resection, possible complications, recovery timeline. Victoria listens with the focused intensity of someone absorbing information that will determine whether she lives or dies. "How long do I have?" she asks when Dr. Kim finishes. "If the biopsy shows cancer." "How long?" Dr. Kim meets her gaze. "Let's take this one step at a time. First, we stop the bleeding and remove the mass. Then we determine what we're dealing with. Then we make a plan. But you've seen cases like this before. What's your experience?" Dr. Kim is quiet for a moment. "It varies widely depending on numerous factors. But I will tell you this. I've seen people with devastating diagnoses survive for years with quality of life. And I've seen people with better prognosis give up and decline rapidly. Your mindset matters as much as the medicine." Victoria nods. "Then I'll fight." "Good." Dr. Kim smiles slightly. "We'll prep you for surgery. It'll take about 2 hours to get everything ready. I suggest you rest if you can." When the surgeon leaves, Victoria turns to Marcus. "You should go. You've done enough. More than enough. My shift ended 2 hours ago. I'm already late. Might as well stay late. You have a daughter. You said. She needs you. She's with my neighbor. She's safe. And right now, you need someone too." Victoria's face crumples. "I don't understand why you care." Marcus sits in the chair beside her bed. "My wife used to volunteer at a soup kitchen every Saturday. I asked her once why she did it, why she spent her day off serving strangers. She told me that kindness isn't a transaction. You don't do it because you'll get something back. You do it because someone needs it, and you can give it." He meets Victoria's eyes. "Right now, you need someone, and I can be that someone. I'm not a good person, Marcus. I need you to know that. Maybe not, but you're a person, and that's enough." Victoria reaches for his hand again. He gives it without hesitation. They sit in silence as machines beep softly and fluorescent lights hum overhead. Outside, the city is beginning to wake. But in this room, time has stopped. "Tell me about your daughter," Victoria says quietly. Marcus smiles, the first genuine smile since this strange night began. "Lily. She's 7. Smart as a whip. Loves dinosaurs and refuses to wear anything that isn't purple. She has a heart murmur, so we come here for checkups. She's brave, though. Braver than I'll ever be. She sounds wonderful. She is. She's everything good that Sarah and I made together. The only thing that makes sense anymore." Victoria is quiet for a long moment. "I never had children. I told myself I didn't have time, that my company was my baby. But the truth is I was afraid. Afraid I'd be a terrible mother. Afraid I'd screw up a child the way my parents screw me up." "It's not too late," Marcus says. Victoria laughs weakly. "I might be dying. It's definitely too late. That's not what I meant. I mean, it's not too late to be different, to be better, to matter to someone. I matter to shareholders. That's not the same, and you know it." Victoria closes her eyes again. "When I was 10, my father lost his job. We had to move from our house to a tiny apartment. I remember my mother crying in the bathroom where she thought I couldn't hear. I remember eating cereal for dinner because that's all we had. I remember the shame of it, the powerlessness." She opens her eyes. "I swore I'd never be powerless again. I built my company so I'd never have to depend on anyone, so I'd never feel that helpless again. And now," Marcus asks gently, "now I'm more powerless than I've ever been. And the company, the money, the empire, none of it matters. None of it can save me." "No, but people can, if you let them." A nurse enters with pre-op paperwork. Marcus steps back while Victoria signs forms with shaking hands. She lists him as her emergency contact when they ask, her voice barely above a whisper. When a nurse leaves, Victoria looks at him with something like wonder. "I humiliated you once. Last month. At my office building. You were cleaning, and I walked past you like you were furniture. I didn't even see you as human." Marcus remembers. Victoria in a pristine suit, talking on her phone, her heel catching the edge of his mop bucket and sending dirty water across the marble floor. She had glared at him like he had deliberately placed the obstacle in her path, had continued her conversation without apologizing, leaving him to clean up the spill while other employees watched. I remember, Marcus says, and you're still here. Even after that. Yes. Why? Marcus considers his answer carefully. Because the person who spilled that bucket isn't the same person lying in this bed. Or maybe she is, but she's also more than that. People are complicated. They can be cruel and scared, powerful and vulnerable. What matters is what you choose to do when you see clearly. And what do you see clearly? Someone who's afraid of dying alone. Someone who built walls so high she forgot there was a world outside them. Someone who still has time to tear those walls down if she wants to. Victoria's hand finds his again. Will you tell me about your wife? While we wait. So Marcus does. He tells her about Sarah, who loved terrible puns and made the best chocolate chip cookies, who sang off-key in the shower and cried during commercials, who fought cancer with grace and rage, who held on long enough to see Lily's 4th birthday, who whispered take care of our girl with her last breath. He tells Victoria about the funeral, about holding Lily while she sobbed for her mother, about the months that followed, the blur of grief and survival, about losing his project management job because he could not travel, could not work late, could not be the employee he used to be. He tells her about taking the janitorial job, about swallowing his pride because pride did not pay rent, about learning to be invisible, to clean up other people's messes while they pretended he did not exist. And he tells her about the small joys, Lily's laughter, the way she holds his hand, the dinosaur facts she recites at breakfast, the purple crayon drawings that cover their refrigerator. Victoria listens, really listens, her eyes never leaving his face. When he finishes, she is crying quietly. You've lost so much, she says. Yes, but I still have Lily, and that's everything. The surgical team returns. It is time. They raise the rails on Victoria's bed, check the floor, prepare to wheel her to the operating room. Victoria's grip on Marcus's hand tightens. I'm scared, she admits. I know, but Dr. Kim is one of the best. And you're strong, stronger than you think. Will you? Victoria's voice catches. Will you be here when I wake up? If I wake up, you'll wake up. And yes, I'll be right here. They wheel her toward the doors. At the threshold, Victoria looks back. Marcus? Thank you. For seeing me. For staying. For everything. Just come back, Marcus says. We're not done yet. The doors close. Marcus stands alone in the hallway as the sun begins to rise beyond the windows, casting long shadows across the floor he will eventually need to mop. His phone buzzes again. Lily, texting from Mrs. Chen's phone. Daddy, where are you? Marcus types back. How to help someone, sweetheart. I'll be home soon. I love you more than all the stars. Lily responds with a string of purple heart emojis. Marcus slides down the wall and sits on the floor exhausted. He does not know Victoria Ashford. Not really. But in the last few hours, he has seen her more clearly than most people probably ever have. And what he has seen is not a ruthless CEO or a billionaire titan. He has seen a terrified woman who forgot how to be human and who is desperately trying to remember before it is too late. The surgery will take 4 to 6 hours, the nurse told him. Marcus pulls out his phone and texts his supervisor, explaining he has a family emergency and will not be able to come in for his next shift. Then he settles in a wait, because he made a promise. And Marcus Webb keeps his promises, even to strangers, especially to strangers who have no one else. The surgical waiting room fills slowly as morning breaks. Marcus watches families cluster in anxious groups, clutching coffee cups and speaking in hushed tones. He remains apart, still in his janitorial uniform, conscious of the suspicious glances from a security guard who passes twice, clearly wondering why the cleaning staff is lingering. Marcus texts Mrs. Chun again, apologizing for the inconvenience, promising to be home by afternoon. She responds with her characteristic warmth. Take your time. Lily and I are making pancakes. Don't worry. He tries not to worry, but exhaustion pulls at him, and with it comes the familiar weight of anxiety about money, about time, about all the things he cannot control. He has already missed 4 hours of sleep. If he misses his next shift, that day's pay gone. The electricity bill is due next week. Lily needs new shoes. But then he thinks about Victoria's hand gripping his, about the raw fear in her eyes, about how she said please like someone and used to asking for anything. And he knows he made the right choice. At 9:47 a.m., Dr. Kim emerges through the surgical doors. Marcus stands so quickly he nearly stumbles. The surgeon's face is neutral, impossible to read. The surgery went well, Dr. Kim says, and Marcus feels his knees weaken with relief. We remove the mass and stop the bleeding. The liver is a resilient organ. It can regenerate. She'll need time to recover, but the immediate crisis is resolved. And the mass? Was it? We sent it to pathology. Results will take a few days. But I can tell you that the bleeding was significant. If she had waited much longer, if she hadn't come to the hospital when she did. Dr. Kim lets the implication hang. She's lucky, and lucky to have someone who convinced her to get help. Marcus exhales slowly. When can I see her? She's in recovery now. Give it another hour, then you can sit with her. She'll be groggy, probably in and out of consciousness for a while. But she'll know you're there. After Dr. Kim leaves, Marcus calls Mrs. Chun. Lily answers immediately. Daddy, her voice is bright, uncomplicated. Mrs. Chun, let me have chocolate chips in my pancakes. Did she now? Marcus smiles despite his exhaustion. And did you remember to say thank you? Yes. Daddy, when are you coming home? Soon, baby. A few more hours. There's someone at the hospital who needs help, and I promised I'd stay with them. Are they sick like Mommy was? Marcus's throat tightens. Yes, sweetheart, but the doctors are taking good care of them. Then you should stay, Lily says with the simple certainty of childhood. Mommy always said, we help people who need help, even if it's hard. Your mom was a smart lady. I know. I miss her. I miss her too, baby. So much. They talk for a few more minutes, about dinosaurs, about the purple dress Lily wants for the school concert, about nothing and everything. When they hang up, Marcus feels both comforted and hollowed out. He misses his daughter with a physical ache. But Sarah's voice echoes in his memory. Kindness isn't a transaction. An hour later, a nurse finds him and leads him through sterile corridors to the recovery wing. Victoria lies in a bed surrounded by monitors, an oxygen cannula in her nose for lines running into both arms. Her face is pale, slack with anesthesia, but her chest rises and falls steadily. Marcus pulls a chair close and sits. He takes her hand gently, careful of the four. Hey, he says quietly, you made it, just like I said you would. Victoria doesn't respond, lost in whatever dreams anesthesia brings. But her fingers twitch slightly in his grip, and Marcus chooses to believe she hears him. He sits with her as the morning stretches into afternoon. Nurses come and go, checking vitals, adjusting medication. They've stopped questioning his presence. One older nurse, the same one from the emergency department, brings him a sandwich and coffee. You're a good man, she tells him. Not many people would do this for someone they barely know. Marcus doesn't know how to respond, so he simply thanks her. Around 2 p.m., Victoria's eyes flutter open. She blinks slowly, confused, trying to focus. Marcus leans forward. Hey, welcome back. Victoria's gaze finds him. Recognition dawns gradually. Marcus. Her voice is rough, barely audible. Right here. The surgery went well. Dr. Kim said you're going to be okay. Tears slip from the corners of her eyes. You stayed. I promised I would. Victoria's hand tightens weakly in his. I had a dream. Or maybe it was the anesthesia. I dreamed I was in my office, but it was empty. All the furniture was gone. Just me alone in this huge room. She swallows, wincing, and I couldn't remember why I was there. Couldn't remember what any of it was for. That's just the drugs talking. No. Victoria's eyes are clearer now, focused. No, it wasn't. It was true. I've spent decades building something, and I can't remember why. Can't remember when I stopped being a person and became just this thing, this machine that acquires and dominates and wins. Marcus squeezes her hand. Then maybe it's time to remember. To figure out who Victoria Ashford is when she's not being CEO. I don't know if I know how. Then we'll figure it out together. One step at a time. A doctor comes in, not Dr. Kim, but someone from the recovery team. He asks Victoria questions, checks her incision, adjusts her pain medication. Victoria answers automatically, the CEO mask slipping back into place. Competent, controlled, in command, even from hospital bed. But when the doctor leaves, the mask falls away again. Victoria looks at Marcus with something like desperation. I don't want to go back, she whispers, to my life, to being that person. But I don't know what else to be. You don't have to figure it all out right now. Just focus on healing. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. And then what? I go back to my empty penthouse, my empty office, my empty life. Marcus considers his next words carefully. You know what Lily asked me once after Sarah died? She asked if Mommy was lonely in heaven. I told her no, because Mommy was surrounded by love, all the love we still felt for her. And Lily said, then we should make sure people know we love them before they go to heaven, so they're not lonely while they're here. Victoria's face crumples. Out of the mouths of babes. She's smarter than both of us combined. Marcus pauses. What I'm saying is, it's not too late. You're still here. You can still choose differently. I wouldn't even know where to start. Start small. Start with the truth. Victoria closes her eyes. When she opens them again, there's something raw and determined in her gaze. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. Not my therapist. Yes, I have one, paid to listen to me rationalize my terrible choices. Not the business journalists who write puff pieces about my success. Not anyone. Marcus waits. When I was 25, I was engaged. His name was David. He was kind and patient, and he loved me before I had money, before I was anyone. We were going to get married that summer. Victoria's voice trembles. But I got a job offer. VP position at a startup that looked promising. It would have meant relocating, meant 80-hour weeks, meant choosing between building a life with David and building a career. You chose the career. I chose the career. And I told myself it was the smart choice, the practical choice. I told myself David would understand, that he'd wait, that we could make it work long distance. She laughs bitterly. He didn't wait. He married someone else 2 years later. Someone who had time for him. Someone who chose him. And you regretted it. Every single day. But I couldn't admit that, because admitting it would mean admitting I'd made the wrong choice. So I doubled down. Worked harder. Made more money. Told myself I was winning. Victoria meets his eyes. But I wasn't winning, Marcus. I was running. I've been running for 30 years from the choice I made when I was 25. Marcus absorbs this. Have you tried to find him? To tell him. He died. 10 years ago. Heart attack. I saw the obituary online. He had 3 kids. A wife who loved him. A full life. Victoria's voice breaks. And I had a corner office and a net worth I couldn't even spend in 5 lifetimes. And I would have traded it all, every penny, to have what he had. The machines beep softly in the silence that follows. Marcus thinks about Sarah, about the life they built together, about how he would give anything to have her back. But he also thinks about Victoria, who gave up love for success and found neither in the end. It's not too late to have a different kind of life, Marcus says finally. Maybe not the one you gave up, but something real, something that matters. How? I don't even know where to begin. Begin with the people around you. Really see them. Really talk to them. Be honest about who you are and what you're afraid of. Marcus pauses. Be the kind of person someone would sit with at 3 in the morning. Victoria studies him for a long moment. You're remarkable, you know that. I'm really not. I'm just a guy who cleans floors and tries to raise his kid right. No, you're more than that. You're proof that the things I thought mattered don't, and the things I ignored are everything. Before Marcus can respond, the door opens. A well-dressed man in his 40s enters, expensive suit crisp despite the late hour. He stops short when he sees Marcus. Victoria? I just heard. Someone from the hospital called the office emergency line. What happened? Are you all right? Victoria's face shifts, the CEO mask trying to slide back into place. But it doesn't quite fit anymore. James, I had emergency surgery, but I'm okay now. James, her executive assistant, Marcus realizes, looks between Victoria and Marcus with obvious confusion. I don't understand. Why didn't you call me? Why didn't anyone tell me you were in the hospital? Because I didn't want anyone to know. But I'm your assistant. I'm supposed to, James stops, noticing Victoria's tears. His expression shifts from confusion to concern. Victoria, what's going on? Victoria takes a shaky breath. Marcus starts to stand, to give them privacy, but Victoria's grip on his hand tightens. Stay, she says. Then, to James, sit down. Please, I need to tell you something. James sits slowly, his confusion deepening. I've been a terrible boss, Victoria says. The words seem to cost her, but she pushes through. I've treated you like a machine, like a tool to increase my productivity. I've demanded your evenings, your weekends, your life, and never once asked if you were okay. If you had family, if you had dreams that didn't involve managing my calendar. James blinks, speechless. I have a tumor, Victoria continues. They removed it today. I don't know if it's cancer yet, but I might be dying. Her voice steadies. And when they asked for my emergency contact, I realized I had no one. No one would care if I lived or died beyond how it would affect stock prices. That's not. James starts, but Victoria cuts him off. It is true, and it's my fault. I built my life this way. She looks at Marcus, then back to James. But I'm going to try to do better. If I get the chance. If it's not too late. James sits back, processing. Finally, he speaks, and his voice is softer than before. You have a daughter, Emma. She's 12. You've never asked, but I've worked for you for 7 years, and you've never once asked about her. Victoria flinches. Tell me about Emma. She wants to be a marine biologist. She's obsessed with dolphins. She made me promise to take her to see them this summer, but I had to cancel because of the Melbourne deal. James's eyes are wet, and I told myself it was fine, that work was important, that Emma would understand. But she didn't understand. She cried, and I realized I was choosing you over my daughter. The room is silent except for the steady beep of monitors. Don't, Victoria says finally. Don't choose me over Emma. Don't make my mistakes. She reaches out her free hand, the one not holding Marcus's, toward James. Take her to see the dolphins. Take the time. I'll survive. The company will survive. But you only get one chance to be Emma's father. James takes her hand, and now Marcus is connected to both of them, a chain of humanity in a sterile hospital room. I quit, James says, and Victoria flinches. Not now. Not while you're recovering. But soon. I need to find a job with boundaries. A life that includes Emma. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. And then what? I go back to my empty penthouse, my empty office, my empty life. Marcus considers his next words carefully. You know what Lily asked me once after Sarah died? She asked if Mommy was lonely in heaven. I told her no, because Mommy was surrounded by love, all the love we still felt for her. And Lily said, then we should make sure people know we love them before they go to heaven, so they're not lonely while they're here. Victoria's face crumples. Out of the mouths of babes. She's smarter than both of us combined. Marcus pauses. What I'm saying is, it's not too late. You're still here. You can still choose differently. I wouldn't even know where to start. Start small. Start with the truth. Victoria closes her eyes. When she opens them again, there's something raw and determined in her gaze. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. Not my therapist. Yes, I have one, paid to listen to me rationalize my terrible choices. Not the business journalists who write puff pieces about my success. Not anyone. Marcus waits. When I was 25, I was engaged. His name was David. He was kind and patient, and he loved me before I had money, before I was anyone. We were going to get married that summer. Victoria's voice trembles. But I got a job offer. VP position at a startup that looked promising. It would have meant relocating, meant 80-hour weeks, meant choosing between building a life with David and building a career. You chose the career. I chose the career. And I told myself it was the smart choice, the practical choice. I told myself David would understand, that he'd wait, that we could make it work long distance. She laughs bitterly. He didn't wait. He married someone else 2 years later. Someone who had time for him. Someone who chose him. And you regretted it. Every single day. But I couldn't admit that, because admitting it would mean admitting I'd made the wrong choice. So I doubled down. Worked harder. Made more money. Told myself I was winning. Victoria meets his eyes. But I wasn't winning, Marcus. I was running. I've been running for 30 years from the choice I made when I was 25. Marcus absorbs this. Have you tried to find him? To tell him. He died 10 years ago. Heart attack. I saw the obituary online. He had 3 kids. A wife who loved him. A full life. Victoria's voice breaks. And I had a corner office and a net worth I couldn't even spend in 5 lifetimes. And I would have traded it all, every penny, to have what he had. The machines beep softly in the silence that follows. Marcus thinks about Sarah, about the life they built together, about how he would give anything to have her back. But he also thinks about Victoria, who gave up love for success and found neither in the end. It's not too late to have a different kind of life, Marcus says finally. Maybe not the one you gave up, but something real, something that matters. How? I don't even know where to begin. Begin with the people around you. Really see them. Really talk to them. Be honest about who you are and what you're afraid of. Marcus pauses. Be the kind of person someone would sit with at 3 in the morning. Victoria studies him for a long moment. You're remarkable, you know that. I'm really not. I'm just a guy who cleans floors and tries to raise his kid right. No, you're more than that. You're proof that the things I thought mattered don't, and the things I ignored are everything. Before Marcus can respond, the door opens. A well-dressed man in his 40s enters, expensive suit crisp despite the late hour. He stops short when he sees Marcus. Victoria? I just heard. Someone from the hospital called the office emergency line. What happened? Are you all right? Victoria's face shifts, the CEO mask trying to slide back into place. But it doesn't quite fit anymore. James, I had emergency surgery, but I'm okay now. James, her executive assistant, Marcus realizes, looks between Victoria and Marcus with obvious confusion. I don't understand. Why didn't you call me? Why didn't anyone tell me you were in the hospital? Because I didn't want anyone to know. But I'm your assistant. I'm supposed to. James stops, noticing Victoria's tears. His expression shifts from confusion to concern. Victoria, what's going on? Victoria takes a shaky breath. Marcus starts to stand, to give them privacy, but Victoria's grip on his hand tightens. Stay, she says. Then, to James, sit down. Please, I need to tell you something. James sits slowly, his confusion deepening. I've been a terrible boss, Victoria says. The words seem to cost her, but she pushes through. I've treated you like a machine, like a tool to increase my productivity. I've demanded your evenings, your weekends, your life, and never once asked if you were okay. If you had family, if you had dreams that didn't involve managing my calendar. James blinks, speechless. I have a tumor, Victoria continues. They removed it today. I don't know if it's cancer yet, but I might be dying. Her voice steadies. And when they asked for my emergency contact, I realized I had no one. No one would care if I lived or died beyond how it would affect stock prices. That's not. James starts, but Victoria cuts him off. It is true, and it's my fault. I built my life this way. She looks at Marcus, then back to James. But I'm going to try to do better. If I get the chance. If it's not too late. James sits back, processing. Finally, he speaks, and his voice is softer than before. You have a daughter, Emma. She's 12. You've never asked, but I've worked for you for 7 years, and you've never once asked about her. Victoria flinches. Tell me about Emma. She wants to be a marine biologist. She's obsessed with dolphins. She made me promise to take her to see them this summer, but I had to cancel because of the Melbourne deal. James's eyes are wet, and I told myself it was fine, that work was important, that Emma would understand. But she didn't understand. She cried, and I realized I was choosing you over my daughter. The room is silent except for the steady beep of monitors. Don't, Victoria says finally. Don't choose me over Emma. Don't make my mistakes. She reaches out her free hand, the one not holding Marcus's, toward James. Take her to see the dolphins. Take the time. I'll survive. The company will survive. But you only get one chance to be Emma's father. James takes her hand, and now Marcus is connected to both of them, a chain of humanity in a sterile hospital room. I quit, James says, and Victoria flinches. Not now. Not while you're recovering, but soon. I need to find a job with boundaries. A life that includes Emma. I understand, Victoria whispers. And I'm sorry. For all of it. James nods slowly. For what it's worth, I hope the biopsy comes back clean. I hope you get the chance to do better. He stands. I'll handle everything at the office. You focus on getting well. After James leaves, Victoria turns to Marcus. That was terrifying. Probably. But it was also brave. I lost my assistant. No. You freed a father to be with his daughter. There's a difference. Victoria laughs weakly. You're going to make me a better person whether I like it or not, aren't you? I'm not going to make you anything. That's your choice. I'm just holding up a mirror. They sit in comfortable silence for a while. Victoria drifts in and out of sleep, her hands still in Marcus's. He thinks about Lily, about getting home to her. But he also thinks about this strange connection he's formed with a woman who, hours ago, was a stranger. A woman who humiliated him, who represented everything he'd lost when he lost his career, his status, his sense of worth. And yet here they are, human to human. No titles, no pretense. Just two people who have both learned that life can break you, and that sometimes the breaking is what finally lets the light in. Around 5 p.m., a nurse tells Marcus that Victoria is stable enough to be moved to a regular room, where she'll stay for several days of monitoring. They'll transfer her soon. Marcus knows it's time to go. He's been here for over 12 hours. Lily needs him. His own life needs him. I should head home, he tells Victoria gently. Her eyes, already half closed with exhaustion and medication, open wide. Will you come back? Marcus hesitates. He thinks about the practical realities, his work schedule, his responsibilities, the impropriety of forming a friendship with someone so far outside his social sphere. He thinks about all the reasons to say no, to let this strange night remain a singular moment, an anomaly. But he also thinks about Sarah's words. Kindness isn't a transaction. Yeah, he says, I'll come back. Tomorrow, after I take Lily to school. You don't have to. I know, but I'm going anyway. Victoria's eyes fill with tears again. Thank you. For everything. For staying. For being honest. For treating me like a person instead of. You're a person, Marcus interrupts gently. That's all you've ever been. Everything else is just noise. He stands to leave, but Victoria's voice stops him. Marcus, when you talk to Lily tonight, tell her thank you. For reminding you that people shouldn't be lonely. Tell her she's right. Marcus smiles. I will. He walks out of the hospital into the late afternoon sun, exhausted and emotionally drained. His supervisor has left 3 voicemails. His bank account is still dangerously low. His life is exactly as complicated as it was yesterday. But something has shifted. Marcus can't quite name it yet. But he feels it, a sense that this strange, impossible night might be the beginning of something. Not a solution to his problems. Not a rescue or a windfall or any of the fairy tale endings movies promise. Just connection. The reminder that beneath all the labels and roles and armor people wear, there's just humanity. Fragile and frightened and fundamentally alone, unless we choose otherwise. Marcus takes the subway home, the car crowded with commuters. He watches them, really watches them, the way Victoria probably never has. The exhausted mother with 2 children clinging to her legs. The old man reading a worn paperback. The teenager with headphones, eyes closed, escaping into music. All of them carrying their own stories, their own pain, their own secret fears that they might die alone. When Marcus gets home, Lily launches herself at him with a squeal of delight. He catches her, holds her close, breathes in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. Daddy, you were gone forever. I know, baby. I'm sorry. Is the person you were helping okay? Marcus thinks about Victoria, lying in a hospital bed, facing an uncertain future, but no longer facing it completely alone. Yeah, he says, I think she's going to be okay. That night, after dinner and bath time and 3 stories about dinosaurs, Marcus tucks Lily into bed. She looks up at him with Sarah's eyes. Daddy, will you always help people, even when it's hard? Marcus smooths her hair back from her forehead. I'll try, sweetheart. That's all any of us can do. Try to be kind when it's hard. Good, Lily says sleepily. Mommy will be proud. After she falls asleep, Marcus sits at their tiny kitchen table and opens his laptop. He types Victoria Ashford into the search bar and reads the articles that appear. Business profiles, Forbes features, stories about hostile takeovers and market domination. Photos of a woman in power suits, her smile sharp as a knife. None of it matches the terrified, vulnerable person he sat with today. Marcus wonders how many people live like that, creating elaborate facades while slowly suffocating behind them. He thinks about his own masks, his own walls, the way he's learned to be invisible, to apologize for existing, to shrink himself down. Maybe Victoria isn't the only one who needs to learn how to be human again. His phone buzzes. An unknown number. Marcus almost ignores it, but something makes him answer. Marcus! Victoria's voice is groggy but awake. I'm sorry to call so late. James gave me your number from the hospital paperwork. I hope that's okay. It's fine. Are you all right? Yes. No. I don't know. A pause. I'm scared. Dr. Kim said the pathology results will take a few days. And I'm lying here in the dark, and all I can think about is dying alone in this room. Marcus's heart aches. You're not alone. I'm here. On the phone. That's not what I mean. I know. But it's still true. You're not alone right now. Victoria's breath shakes. Tell me something real. Something that has nothing to do with hospitals or death or fear. Tell me something about your life. So Marcus does. He tells her about Lily's obsession with stegosauruses, about the purple crayon incident that ended with their bathroom wall covered in dinosaur murals, about the time Lily insisted on wearing her tutu to the grocery store because dinosaurs can be fancy too, Daddy. He tells her about the small apartment they share, about the crack in the ceiling he's been meaning to fix, about the neighbor's cat that Lily feeds scraps to through the window, about the bodega on the corner where the owner knows their order by heart. He tells her about the ordinary, beautiful, complicated mess of a life lived in the margins. And Victoria listens, really listens, like she's memorizing instructions for a foreign country she's never visited. Your life sounds wonderful, she says when he finishes. Real. Full. It's not perfect. We struggle. But we have each other. I want that, Victoria whispers. I want a life that's real. I don't know how to build it. One choice at a time, Marcus says, like he did with James. Like you're doing right now, by being honest. They talk for another 20 minutes until Victoria's words start to slur with exhaustion and medication. Marcus promises again to visit tomorrow. After they hang up, he sits in the dark kitchen, thinking about the strangeness of life. How a chance encounter can change everything. How sometimes the people who need us most are the ones we never expect. And how maybe, just maybe, saving someone else is sometimes how we save ourselves. The next morning, Marcus takes Lily to school and then catches 2 buses to St. Catherine's. He's in civilian clothes today, jeans and a worn sweater, but he still feels out of place walking through the main entrance instead of the service entrance. A volunteer at the information desk gives him Victoria's room number without question. He finds her sitting up in bed, picking at a breakfast tray. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, her face bare of makeup. She looks younger somehow, more vulnerable, more human. You came, she says, and the relief in her voice is palpable. I said I would. Marcus pulls a chair close. Victoria pushes the breakfast tray aside. I've been thinking all night, she says, about what you said, about choosing differently. And I need to, she struggles with the words. I need to make amends. To the people I've hurt. To try to. Hey, Marcus stops her gently. You don't have to fix everything right now. You're recovering from major surgery. But if I don't have much time, then you'll deal with that if and when it happens. But right now, today you're here. You're alive. That's enough. Victoria nods, but Marcus can see the fear still gripping her. He understands it, the desperate need to make meaning of crisis, to turn suffering into some kind of redemption story. He felt it himself after Sarah died, the frantic scramble to make her death mean something, to prove it wasn't all for nothing. Tell me what you're really afraid of, Marcus says. Victoria meets his eyes. that I've wasted my life, that I'll die, and no one will really mourn me. They'll mourn the CEO, the figurehead, but not me. Not Victoria, because no one knows Victoria. I made sure of that. So start letting people know you. Not the CEO, the real you. What if there's nothing there? What if I've been the CEO for so long that it's all I am? Marcus leans forward. You called me last night because you were scared. That's real. You cried over David, over the life you didn't choose. That's real. You listened to me talk about purple crayons and dinosaurs for half an hour like it was the most important thing in the world. That's real. He pauses. You're in there, Victoria. You're just buried under 30 years of armor. But armor can come off. A tear slides down Victoria's cheek. I don't know if I'm brave enough. You survived surgery. You told James the truth. You're talking to me, a janitor you barely know, instead of hiding behind lawyers and PR people. Marcus smiles. You're braver than you think. A nurse comes in to check vitals and change dressings. Marcus steps into the hallway to give Victoria privacy. While he waits, he checks his phone. His supervisor has finally responded to his emergency text. Let me know when you can come back. We need you on the schedule. Marcus texts back. Need a few more days. Family emergency. I'll make up the hours. The response is terse. We'll discuss when you return. Marcus sighs. He's probably jeopardizing his job. But he thinks about Victoria's hand in his, about her terrified eyes, about how she has no one else. And he knows he'll deal with the consequences later. The nurse emerges and gives Marcus a thoughtful look. She's doing well, physically, but she keeps asking for you. Whatever you're doing, it's helping. Marcus doesn't know how to respond to that, so he just nods and goes back inside. Victoria is redressed in a fresh hospital gown, her breakfast tray replaced. She looks exhausted, but more present than yesterday. The biopsy results are taking longer than expected, she tells him. They might have them by tomorrow, or the next day. She laughs hollowly. The waiting is its own kind of torture. I know. You do, don't you? You've been through this. With Sarah. Yeah. The waiting was worse than the diagnosis in some ways. At least once you know, you can make plans, take action. The not knowing just sits on your chest and suffocates you. Victoria nods. They sit in silence for a moment. Tell me about Sarah, Victoria says. Really tell me. Not just that she was wonderful. Tell me who she actually was. So Marcus does. He tells her about Sarah's terrible cooking, how she somehow burned water once, about her infectious laugh that made everyone around her start laughing too, about her stubbornness, how she refused to ask for directions even when hopelessly lost. He tells her about Sarah's fears, of spiders, of failure, of not being a good enough mother, about her dreams of opening a bakery someday, dreams that got shelved when Lily was born with her heart condition, about how she handled the cancer diagnosis with grace publicly, but would sometimes lock herself in the bathroom and sob so Lily wouldn't hear. She sounds like a real person, Victoria says. Not a saint, not perfect, just real. She was the most real person I've ever known, Marcus agrees. And I loved her for every imperfect, messy, beautiful part of her. Victoria is quiet for a long time. Finally, I don't think anyone has ever loved me like that. Not really. My parents loved what I could become. My colleagues love what I can do for them. Even David. I wonder sometimes if he loved me, or if he loved who he thought I could be. Or maybe you never let him see the real you. Maybe. I've been hiding for so long, I don't remember what it was like to be seen. Marcus reaches out and takes her hand. I see you. Right now. In this moment. The real you. What do you see? Someone scared. Someone trying. Someone who made mistakes, but wants to do better. Someone who's still here, still fighting, still human. Victoria closes her eyes, fresh tears escaping. Thank you, she whispers. They spend the rest of the morning talking. Marcus tells her more about Lily, about the challenges of single parenthood, about the small victories and daily struggles. Victoria tells him about her childhood, about the poverty that shaped her, about her parents' bitter divorce when she was 15. She tells him about building her company from nothing, about the satisfaction of success, but also the loneliness, about the relationships she sacrificed, the friendships she let wither, the walls she built higher and higher until she couldn't see over them anymore. And slowly, Gradually, the CEO dissolves. What remains is just Victoria, wounded, frightened, human. Around noon, James returns with a tablet and briefcase. He looks uncomfortable, like he's not sure what his role is anymore. "I brought some urgent contracts that need your signature," he says. "But they can wait if you're not feeling up to it." Victoria looks at the tablet, then at Marcus, then back to James. "Can they wait until next week?" James blinks, surprised. "Ah, yes. Probably. I'll tell them you're recovering, and we'll review when you're well enough." "Thank you, James." Victoria pauses. "How is Emma? Did you take the morning off to see her?" James looks shocked. "Ah, yes. I had breakfast with her before school." She was surprised. "Good. Do that more often. Don't wait for me to tell you it's okay. Just do it." After James leaves, Victoria turns to Marcus. "That was hard. Saying no. Putting something ahead of work. It'll get easier. Will it? Or will I just fall back into old patterns as soon as I'm out of this hospital bed?" "That depends on you. On what you choose." Victoria nods slowly. "I want to meet her. Lily, if that's okay. I want to meet the little girl who taught her father about kindness." Marcus hesitates. Part of him wants to protect Lily from this complicated situation. But another part thinks about what Sarah would say. Let her see that kindness makes a difference. Let her see that she matters. "Okay," he says finally, "when you're feeling stronger, when you're out of the hospital. Promise. Promise." That afternoon, Dr. Kim stops by. The pathology results are delayed another day. The lab needs to run additional tests. Victoria takes the news with visible anxiety, her hands trembling. After the doctor leaves, Marcus stays with her as she spirals into fear. He doesn't offer empty platitudes or false hope. He just sits with her in the uncertainty, holding her hand, being present in the terror of not knowing. "What if it's cancer?" Victoria finally asks. "What if I'm dying?" "Then we deal with it. One day at a time. One treatment at a time." You keep saying "we" because you're not alone anymore. Whether you like it or not, you're stuck with me. Victoria laughs through her tears. "I've had employees for decades, but I've never had a friend. Not a real one." "Well, now you do." They sit in silence as the afternoon light slants through the window. Outside, the city continues its endless motion. But in this room, time has a different quality, suspended, precious, meaningful. Marcus's phone buzzes. A text from Lily. "Can we have spaghetti for dinner? Please, please, please? With the twirly kind?" He smiles and texts back. "Yes, baby. Twirly spaghetti it is." Victoria watches him. "You really love her. More than my own life. That must be terrifying, loving someone that much." "It is. Every single day. But it's also the only thing that makes sense." Victoria closes her eyes. "I want that. I want to love something more than I fear losing it." "Then start," Marcus says simply. "Start small, but start." When Marcus finally leaves the hospital that evening, he feels the weight of these 2 days settling on him. He's exhausted, emotionally wrung out, worried about his job, worried about money. But he's also filled with something he can't quite name. Purpose, maybe, or connection. The sense that his life, as small and difficult as it is, matters. On the subway home, he closes his eyes and thinks about the strange mathematics of human kindness. How a few hours of presence can mean everything. How sitting with someone's fear can be as powerful as curing their disease. How seeing someone really seeing them can be its own kind of healing. And he thinks about Victoria, alone in her hospital room with her uncertain future. He sends her a text. "You're doing great. I'm proud of you. Get some rest." Her response comes quickly. "Thank you for existing, Marcus Webb." Marcus reads it twice, something warm expanding in his chest. Then he puts his phone away and prepares to go home to his daughter, to make twirly spaghetti and help with homework and maintain the small, precious routine of their life. But tomorrow he'll go back. He'll sit with Victoria again. He'll help her figure out how to be human. Because that's what friends do. Even friends who started as strangers in a hospital hallway at 3 in the morning. 3 months later, Marcus stands in Victoria's penthouse, watching Lily chase across marble floors in her purple tutu. The apartment still intimidates him. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, artwork worth more than his lifetime earnings. But it's different now. Warmer somehow. Victoria emerges from the kitchen carrying a tray of badly burned cookies. She's lost weight during chemotherapy, her hair's shorter, but her smile is genuine. I followed the recipe exactly, she says with mock indignation. I don't understand what happened. Marcus laughs. Sarah couldn't cook either. It's not a requirement for being human. The biopsy had shown cancer. Stage 3. The months since have been brutal. Surgery, chemo, endless appointments. But Victoria has faced it differently than she faced her empire. She's asked for help, let people in, started the slow work of becoming someone beyond her title. She sold controlling interest in Ashford Industries last month. James now works part-time, coaching Emma's soccer team on weekends. Victoria volunteers at a youth center in Queens, teaching business skills to kids who remind her of who she used to be. And somehow, impossibly, Marcus and Victoria have become family. Daddy, look, Lily calls, executing a wobbly pirouette. Victoria taught me. Beautiful, baby, Marcus says, his heart full. Victoria sits beside him on the couch, moving carefully, still healing. Thank you, she says quietly, for that night, for staying, for showing me there was still time. You did the hard part. I just held your hand. No. Victoria's eyes are serious. You saved my life. Not Dr. Kim. You. By seeing me when I'd forgotten how to be seen. Lily crashes between them, breathless and happy. She takes both their hands, linking them together. You're my family now, she announces to Victoria with 7-year-old certainty. Right, Daddy? Marcus looks at Victoria, this woman who was a stranger, who humiliated him, who had everything and nothing. This woman who learned to ask for help, who chose vulnerability over power, who is learning day by day how to be human. Right, baby, he says. We're family. Victoria's eyes fill with tears, the good kind, the kind that mean healing instead of breaking. She squeezes Lily's hand, then Marcus's, completing the circle. Outside, the city stretches endlessly, full of strangers passing strangers, everyone carrying their secret loneliness, their hidden fears. But in this moment, in this room, 3 people have found each other across impossible distances. A janitor who learned his worth wasn't in his title. A CEO who learned her value wasn't in her empire. And a little girl who knew all along that the only thing that matters is love. Spaghetti? Victoria asks. The twirly kind? Always, Marcus agrees. And as Lily cheers, as they move toward the kitchen together, Marcus silently thanks Sarah for teaching him that kindness isn't a transaction. It's everything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.